As a huge fan of the Dragon Ball Z series when I was a babby boy, I had always lusted after the idea of a video game that could fully encapsulate the speed, feel, and style of the anime. Luckily, as the gaming industry grew, it seemed to flock towards this idea of QuickTime events, so we eventually received games that could fully emulate the style of Dragon Ball Z. Unfortunately, they were little more than interactive movies. However, amidst the horrendous 2D Dragon Ball Z games and some of the ones full of QuickTime events, there was a series that got it right. This series was Budokai Tenkaichi. I will say that I don't dislike any Dragon Ball games. My love for the series has made me blind towards the games, even the hilariously bad ones. So with that in mind, let me tell you why Tenkaichi 3 specifically is the absolute peak of the entire history of Dragon Ball video games. Let's start with how the game distinguishes itself from a standard fighting game. The idea of a standard fighter is that movement is limited, so the sense of control and focus remains exclusively on the fighting element, whereas in Tenkaichi 3 the focus is on over-the-top, free-roaming, fast-paced battles. General movement feels like they ripped it straight from the show. You can freely move in a 3D environment on both land and in air at a steady pace. There is also the option to use Dragon Dash. This is an accelerated dash which consumes ki to make a character move much faster while looking and feeling exactly like it should. This was different, as Dragon Ball Z had its fair share of standardized fighters. While some are indeed good games, they don't capture the essence of the show, and as such it doesn't feel like a Dragon Ball Z game. They fall into this mold in which most fighting games fall, where they have a few characters that are moderately balanced and a derivative style of play with slight variation here or there. Tenkaichi 3 breaks from the mold in the sense that it does not have a single one of those things. First of all, the total amount of characters is 161, spanning the major events of Dragon Ball, Z, GT, and the movies. This is one of the best parts of the game, as all the characters are represented well and are true to their anime counterparts. Accompanying the ludicrous roster size is the utter lack of balance. There is a clear divide between certain characters. If you were to put, say, Yamcha up against Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, you would find that the stronger of the two, Gogeta, deals more damage, has faster and stronger combos, as well as a few other bonuses, which make him objectively better than Yamcha. I think this works, because it never set out to be a competitive fighter, it simply set out to capture the nature and brilliance of Dragon Ball Z. Where most of the 2D fighters feel like a generic fighting game with Dragon Ball Z skin slapped on top, Tenkaichi 3 feels like it was designed around the styles and elements presented in the show. To go along with all this, there are a few very minor things that the game does, which I think perfectly capture what the series is about. I'm talking specifically about the drawn-out events that occur in battle. In some of the 2D fighting games, you can transform to more powerful forms during battle. However, all the transformations are near instantaneous and they don't feel like you've changed at all. Also, some of these special attacks like Ki Blasts and Rush attacks feel very underwhelming and barely make an impact. In Tenkaichi 3, the transformations take control away from both players and have a 3 or so second cutscene for each transformation. Why is this good, you might wonder? Why is this acceptable in a fast-paced brawler like Tenkaichi 3? Let me tell you why. Think back to the anime. How many minutes did it take for Goku to fully transform into an ascended form for the very first time? The answer is way too fucking long. How long does it take for Frieza or Cell to transform? Still too fucking long. The game found the perfect time allowance for transformation cutscenes, as it clearly takes priority over the rest of the game, but it doesn't keep you for too long. So while it borrows heavily from the show, it still keeps it fun, and you feel like you've actually transformed after the cutscene. On top of that, most transformations change the way the character plays, ranging from speed to power and even fighting style. It feels perfect. Then there are special attacks. Each character has 3 special attacks. Most of the time, these also occur in mini cutscenes similar to the transformation cutscenes, where it removes control from the player for a few seconds to then promptly return them to play, with a massive beam hurtling towards their face. Some beam moves happen in real time and can also be charged, which really emulates the massive wait times we saw in the anime, like when Goku charges the fucking Spirit Bomb, but at the same time, they can be interrupted. All of the special attacks have the same grand feel of the anime, where it's just so ridiculously over the top that it's almost funny. I think having both styles sets up a stellar foundation for fans who want the most genuine Dragon Ball experience. As for the games that came after Tenkaichi 3, they kinda lost direction. They moved away from having a Dragon Ball experience and moved more towards QuickTime events. I still really enjoy them, but I genuinely feel that Tenkaichi 3 is the absolute pinnacle of Dragon Ball Z games. I've been Casposaurus, thanks for watching.